combattant de la 410e escadre de l'Association de la Force aérienne du Canada. The Canadian Aviation and Space Museum and Ms. Denise Ambiant and Mr. Stephen Quick for providing these superb facilities for our ceremony. Le Musée de l'Aviation et de l'Espace du Canada et Madame Denise Ambiant et Monsieur Stephen Quick qui nous a permis d'utiliser leur magnifique établissement pour cette cérémonie. We also wish to thank Mr. Michael Potter and Mr. Rob Erdos of Vintage Wings of Canada for providing a Spitfire, a Hurricane, a P-40 Warhawk, and a Mustang for the fly past during the ceremony. We're also indebted to Mr. David Rohrer of the Canadian Warplane Heritage Museum in Hamilton for their Admiral Lancaster, the only flying Lancaster in North America. Le défilé aérien aujourd'hui comprendra un Spitfire, un Hurricane, un P-40 Warhawk, et un Mustang. Today, we're all on the side of remembrance. La cérémonie d'aujourd'hui revêt un caractère spécial. Pour la première fois en 40 ans, nous commémorons la bataille d'Angleterre tant que le monde de l'aviation royale canadienne. Restaurer notre identité historique pour cette cérémonie annuelle qui honore l'une des batailles les plus décisives dans l'histoire. Et nous reconnecter avec notre réel passé militaire et nos traditions qui nous invitent à entendre l'immense savoir dans l'aviation royale canadienne. Nous sommes aussi honorés de la participation des représentants de l'Allemagne et de l'Italie qui se joignent à l'événement afin de commémorer les 70 ans des catastrophes de la Seconde Guerre mondiale. A battle was won solely by the air power. This Allied victory was the Battle of Britain. From July to October 1940, the Royal Air Force, supported by squadrons and personnel from 13 other nations, fought and defeated the best efforts of the Luftwaffe to dominate the skies over the United Kingdom. In July 1940, the Nazi military machine had beaten all opponents. They seemed unstoppable. The next step was to invade Britain, a task that could only be achieved if the Royal Air Force was first eliminated. Instead, the gallant men and women who supported fighter operations were able to inflict the first defeat upon the Nazi war machine. As Winston Churchill and military historians have stated since the end of the war, this was a turning point in the history of the 20th century. At this time, we would like to acknowledge several of our guests of honor. They include His Excellency Dr. Andrew Pocock, British High Commissioner, Her Excellency Mohal Peiko, South African High Commissioner, Ms. Mary Chaput, representing the Deputy Minister of Veterans Affairs, the Honorable Peter MacKay, Minister of National Defense, Vice Admiral Bruce Donaldson, Vice Chief of the Defense Staff, Chief Petty Officer First Class Bob Cleroux, Canadian Forces Chief Warrant Officer, Chief Warrant Officer Guy Jansen, Vice Chief of the Defense Staff Group, Chief Warrant Officer Miles Barham, Royal Canadian Air Force Chief Warrant Officer.
The guy got killed in Reno yesterday. I guess it was the fastest warplane in World War II, the Mustang, top speed of about 450 miles an hour.
Douglas Invader.
Invader, okay. B-26.
It started life as an A-26 and then it became a B-26 when they changed the designation system.
And that's the Tomahawk or Kitty Hawk, one or the other.
Kitty Hawk, yeah. It was painted in markings of an RAF squadron in the Desert Air Force. And it was flown by a Canadian that later became a wing commander, Stocky Edwards. And he was an ace and he shot down a very well-known German ace using this.
Start now. Okay, that's Michael Potter's Spitfire, which was, of course, the famous aircraft that was considered to have won the Battle of Britain, principally. It was the best damn fighter in the world at the time. And I still think it's probably the most beautiful aerodynamic fighter that's ever been built. That's the plane that is probably the most prominent in the Battle of Britain. There were more Hurricanes than Spitfires, and most of the pilots flew these. They weren't as fast as a Spitfire, but they were very, very airworthy, and they could take an awful lot of hits and still fly. This was built by Hawker, and they're best known today for the Hawker Harrier jump jet, which is the most recent, I think, fighter that they produced. But that was the mainstay of the Royal Air Force during World War II.
Heard the other one? That one? Rhea? Oh, shoot, it's in them. You get air holes in them.